We are 16 days away from the all-important Georgia runoffs, two races that will determine party control of the U.S. Senate. The matchups here in Georgia, the Reverend Raphael Warnock versus Senator Kelly Loeffler, and Senator David Perdue versus John Ossoff. Both races were sent to a runoff when neither candidate reached a 50% majority of the vote in November. Early voting here in Georgia is off the charts. More than 1.3 million Georgians have already cast a ballot, a 25% increase from the same point in the same time in the last runoff. In fact, almost as many Georgians have voted early as they did 16 days out from November's presidential election, even while officials reportedly attempt to hamper the turnout. Now, that includes in Cobb County, which has scaled down early voting sites to only 5 for the county's more than 537,000 voters. That's Atlanta, by the way. It had 11 early voting sites in November's general election. And the work on the ground is being supplemented by various surrogates who spent time in Georgia. Last week, President-elect Biden and Vice President Mike Pence campaigned for their candidates. Yesterday, Don Jr. stumped here for the Republican ticket. This week, Vice President-elect Harris and Ivanka Trump will make the rounds in the state. President Trump is scheduled for a visit for Monday, January 4th, the day right before the election. Joining me now is Georgia Congressman Hank Johnson and Nsé Ufot, who is the CEO of the New Georgia Project. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for joining us. Ms. Ufot, let me start with you and this problem of early voting sites that have been limited. You've got remarkable enthusiasm. You've got remarkable turnout for this election. I think we've got 76,000 more people registered for this election than for the general election. Why are we, again, making it harder for people to vote rather than easier?
Because in a marketplace of ideas, fewer and fewer people are buying what the Republican Party is selling. And the only way for them to win and the only way for them to hang on to power, at least in Georgia, is for them to cheat. There's no reason. The enthusiasm is high. All indications point to voters going to show back up. Under different circumstances, I wouldn't fault them for relying on historic turnout during a runoff to plan early voting locations and to plan drop box locations. And historically, turnout in runoffs has been low. But everything from polling to people requesting ballots, all signs point to this being a high turnout election, and they have failed on their duty when they've minimized or cut the number of early voting locations and the number of options that Georgians have to vote. It's cheating.
Representative Johnson, oh, sorry.
No, just saying, it's
Representative
cheating.
Johnson, just cheating, plain old cheating. Representative Johnson, Georgia has actually elected a number of African-American representatives like you to Congress, never a senator. Raphael Warnock, if elected, would be the first black senator from the state of Georgia.
Yeah, they are quite a pair, Ossoff and Warnock. Warnock would be the first African-American elected to the Senate from Georgia, and it's very doable that this can be done. But it's going to be a nail-biting election. It's going to be a lot of teeth gnashing, hand-wringing. Those numbers are exploding on the Democratic side. And, of course, I'm expecting Republicans to get out there and vote, despite their being kind of dispirited at this time. But they're going to get out and vote. And so it's up to us to get out our vote. Things look real good right now with the early voting tallies. It shows that the enthusiasm is really quite high, and it shows that the activism on the ground is working. Republicans have been spending a lot of money on the airwaves trying to reach the voters that way, but the Democrats have been working on the ground to make sure that we are knocking on doors and dropping literature and talking to people and making sure that they get out and vote, not just in the Atlanta metropolitan area, but throughout the state of Georgia. So I'm really optimistic about our chances on January 5th.
And we're showing pictures of people who have been lining up to vote in a socially distanced way. But below us, below me, in the bottom corner of the screen, is that plant in Olive Branch, Mississippi, where they're loading the vaccine onto trucks. Representative Johnson, you got your vaccine. Tell us about it.
I did. I went and got it on Friday afternoon when it first became available to members of Congress. I felt a little queasy about going in front of just regular people, but then I realized that it's up to me to set the example. So I went ahead and got the vaccination, and I posted on @Rep Hank Johnson my experience. It's about 3 minutes. Everybody can see me getting the shot, and I want people to know that this vaccine has been found to be safe. Of course, there are some side effects. There are side effects with every vaccine. But we take vaccines for things like a tetanus shot. A tetanus shot is a vaccine. Mumps, measles, chickenpox, rabies. You know, you take vaccines to ward off the disease, and that's what this vaccine does. And we, black people, who have been disproportionately hospitalized, sickened, and killed by this disease, need to be the last ones to be reluctant to take this vaccine, because it's actually going to save our lives, save the lives of our family members and friends in our neighborhoods, our grandmothers, grandfathers. So we need to take this virus, and that's what I wanted to show by getting mine first. And I'm doing okay 48 hours afterwards.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And obviously, those concerns that black people have about medications and vaccines are well rooted in American history. But there are reasons why this vaccine should be taken. And we thank you for setting that example. Representative Hank Johnson is a Democratic congressman from Georgia, and Say Ufat is the CEO of the New Georgia Project. Thank you both for joining me this morning. Meanwhile,